Welcome to 2016 Presidential Candidate Interviews. Today I'm interviewing Tom Menier. Mr. Menier is running as an independent. Hello, Tom, and welcome to the interview. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Good.
It's just another wonderful day in Florida.
Good. Thank you for doing the interview. Let's get into some icebreaker questions so the voters can kind of get to know you as kind of a person before we get into the issues.
Okay.
Can you describe your family and your home life?
I have a wife who's a foreign national from the Philippines. My mother, who's 88, had 2 strokes, and we're taking care of her, as well as my baby, which is a German Shepherd dog that's about 3 years old.
Describe your employment, your work experience, your work history.
Well, I was in the military. Actually, I worked with my father from the age 7 until about 14, and then he left the family. And from that point on, I just did odd jobs, worked farm, and that sort of thing. And then when I went into the service, I stayed 13 years in the Army. Was medically discharged for cold weather injury, and they said that I was not worldwide assignable. Got out and went into transportation with Hawthorne Melody Dairy out of Wisconsin, and then relocated to Virginia to follow my wife's job. She was offered a job there, and we went there. And then stayed there for, I guess, about 21, 22 years. I went back to school because I was a GED educated while in the service, and said, it's time to get a little bit smarter. So I did my education late in life. Did my undergraduate at VCU, and then did my master's program on the encouragement from my professors during the undergraduate, and said I was too old to go into business, so might just well get used to being either a professor or a consultant, one of the two. So I needed to finish my master's, and I did, from David College, and then went into consulting, worked an awful lot of part-time jobs, because, in fact, I was in my 40s by then, and nobody really wanted somebody in their 40s going back to work for them. So I picked up a job as a consultant with the city of Richmond, worked corrections at the same time for the state of Virginia for juvenile corrections, and did that for about 11 years, and did all of the jobs for about 11 years. And in my spare moments, I did the consulting with one of the professors, and we sort of formed our little partnership and worked together. Then he passed, and I decided maybe I didn't want to do that anymore. It's too many hours working, and my life seemed to be blowing by me without any thought. So I came to Florida, and oh my God. I never had so many jobs in my entire life until I came down here. And then I went contracting for the military as a human resource generalist and employee relations specialist. While I was there, I did 18 months in Kuwait. 11 months in Qatar and 18 months in Afghanistan. Then I came back just to have some medical issues taken care of that they couldn't take care of overseas. And then after I got that fixed, I decided that my wife, new wife, I should say, my ex-wife, spent all the money and took all the money. So my new wife who was in the Philippines. I met her while I was at the hospital, and we got married in this last December, and been together ever since. And I've kind of just been working on campaigning and trying to get the word out.
All right. What are your hobbies and your interests?
I enjoy fishing, and I enjoy hunting, and probably all of the outdoors. Love camping. And my interest probably is more towards helping people that need a little helping hand, generally the elderly, because there's a lot of things they can't do, and I just sort of help them out the best I can.
What is your favorite place to eat out?
Actually, Mel's Diner, and that's our special night that we go out on, and that's probably the only place we go right now.
Do you have a favorite fast food joint?
Sure. Used to be McDonald's, but we switched over to Burger King. So that's where we're at now, is at Burger King, if we go out and catch a quick flight.
Do you have a favorite junk food?
According to my doctors, everything I eat is junk food.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't have any specific foods that I would. They're not actually the really healthiest things in the world to eat, but I do eat healthy when I'm eating food, my regular meals.
Do you have any favorite TV shows or movies?
Probably the most recent, I guess, in movies, and it wasn't all that recent, but We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson was probably one of my favorites. And just about any John Wayne, Audie Murphy type movies were my favorites, although I did like The Expendables and you know, other movies like that. They're more action-packed and not boring. Other than that, not many.
I think you mentioned a dog earlier. Do you have any pets?
I have my 3-year-old German Shepherd, Kira, and she's just an absolutely wonderful dog and very friendly, very smart. So I'm enjoying her.
Right. And the final getting to know you question. Name a song that you consider your life anthem, maybe a motto, something that kind of represents who you are.
You know, I thought about songs in general, and I guess I didn't pick a song of, you know, that was a life anthem. I pretty much believe in just about everything you can believe in, except for treating people poorly. But I always got a laugh out of the Marvelettes. They did "Don't Mess with Bill," and the only reason why that popped in mind is because one time when I was in Vegas, they called me up on stage, and it was just an exciting moment for that. I really don't have anything I can consider a motto or anything that I follow by. It's just good music that makes sense. So is probably more so what I like to listen to.
All right, and now for the issues-based serious questions. Number one, why are you running for president?
Well, I'm probably well-versed on what's going on, mostly in the Middle East at the present and what has been going on. We've spent a lot of years there, and our soldiers coming back both mentally and physically hurt. And I'm watching America, and it's like they say the words, but when you hit the VA, kind of falls short. And I said, you know, somebody's got to be talking about the serious things. They come back home, there's no jobs. And, yeah, okay, we've got a lot of things going on in America, but that is, you know, the reason why I did is because nobody's addressing what they went into office to address. Things like we worry about all the small stuff and we just keep messing with the money and paying everybody, but not really getting to what we need to do. And I guess that was the the push that started me moving forward was the lack of care for our veterans and putting our soldiers at risk.
What abilities do you bring to the office of president?
Well, I'm educated. I would say probably above average. But at the same time, I've got an enormous amount of experience with soldiers. Although I was a non-commissioned officer, we like to think that we were the backbone of the Army and made the Army work. But I'm also visited while I was in Kuwait. Met a lot of relatives to the Menier, the old Menier that's passed, the Emir that just took over, and then he passed, and I didn't get the chance to meet the new Emir. So, but I know a lot of the folks that are in the Middle East. I know their concerns, and I also fully aware of what they expect from us as a nation, not necessarily as individuals, but as a nation, what they really want from us. And when I went to Afghanistan, I learned the same things there, and when I was in Qatar, I also learned from there. So I do bring a good international background and can converse with folks over there and the leaders over there fairly easy because I understand how they operate and what they expect and the rules of protocol to follow. So I've got a strong background in that.
All right. Can you name maybe a president or two that you look on with favor that had aspects of their presidency which you might want to emulate?
Well, actually, Jefferson, Washington kind of guys were the presidents that I would like to have been most like because they were statesmen. Although they may have had some faults and people find wrong with it today, I think that they had the nation in mind and in heart. I then follow Lincoln, who, truth and honesty and making hard decisions. We would call it tough love today, I guess, but making honest decisions and not making or taking them lightly is probably the more modern president that I would go with. The others are, they're just politicians after that point. We've kind of lost the statesmen and moved more into politicians.
Are there any presidents that you don't have a positive opinion of that have aspects of their presidency that you would not want to emulate?
Yeah, there's a few. And I'm not, this is not meant to be mean to any of them. I think that Bush Sr. was an okay president. I think his son following up did the best he could, but I wouldn't want to emulate either because they had special interests that they were more concerned about than the American people. Then I go to Clinton's, and that was the first push or notice that I've seen giving away to foreign nations, stuff that shouldn't be passed on to any foreign nation. So I would definitely not want to be a Clinton, nor would I want to be the present administration where he's gone out of his way to disrupt America as it should be. I guess that's a nicer way of saying it, but he sure sold us down the creek when he started giving people that didn't want to be you don't give nuclear weapons to anyone or allow them to create nuclear weapons when you're not stable. It's just my thinking.
Are there any functions of government you'd like to decrease or even abolish?
Well, I'm looking at this from the perspective of who moves faster. When we go into a recession mode. It seems like government starts growing. We gain all of these offices and unbelievable departments that I don't think anybody knows who's there, and I would like to get rid of all of those that don't have any reason to be at a federal level. I would like to think that all Americans will give them the same education, but as we all know, it's done at the state level. So I would push the education back to the state level. I would encourage that we maintain, the SATs and measures to where we actually put qualified kids back into school, and then I'd work with the states to ensure that there's ways of bringing and educating kids what they want to learn. And it doesn't matter whether they're rich, poor, or where they're from. It's an opportunity for teachers and students to work together. And then when you say, I'm going to give you a program, or somebody's got a great idea for learning and it's working, then I would like to support that and help them make that. And then if all the other states agree this is a pretty good deal, then we'll push that in there. The EPA, the transportation is a duplication of what the states have. And I'm not quite sure what our folks at government. So I'd like to look at all of the government agencies, what they do, what they're supposed to be doing, and then if it can be done at the state level, push it at the state level, and then reduce the taxes accordingly once I've got a handle on it. And because I don't golf, I don't go to ball games, and I'm not a partier, I think I would spend more time focusing on how we can reduce the size of government, push it back to the states, and then those things that we need to be concerned about, that is a government duty, for example, security and defense of the nation, and focus on that and make it work the best we can, as fast as we can, and then, of course, getting jobs back into America. I think that would be a major undertaking just to get the jobs back to America, and secure borders would be two major things. Realigning us to the Constitution of the United States and stop playing with it, and let's just follow it and get along together. So, yeah, there's so many of them that I'd like to get rid of, but I don't know what their function is. And once I figure out what each of their functions are, if they don't have a function that serves all of America, then it can be pushed back to the states.
Are there any functions of government you'd like to add to, increase, any departments, anything like that?
There's only, when you say national defense, or when I refer to that, we've got a military or armed forces. We have our border patrol. And I would try my best, without costing additional monies, to make our military more elite, and then we support our borders with those military folks that we have and shift them to the borders, not as military, but as border patrol type people or border patrol support. I've been working on an idea, and I've been working with some of the folks that I work with in Afghanistan on some of the things that they utilized there for border, and Kuwait that they used on borders. And if those are reasonable and lower cost than manpower, and all we have to do is then put up bases and secure that way, because we really don't need to build a fence. We can provide jobs for soldiers that are coming back out of the battles. And as we downsize the military, it's not a downsizing of the military. It's really turning the military into an elite force that can handle anything, anywhere, at any time, with less troops. And I've worked closely with the generals to do that.
Describe your stance on taxation.
I think we are very well taxed by local, state, and federal government, and I know that I have no control over what the states do, but I can look at what we're doing at the federal level, and I think once jobs start moving along and people pay their taxes, I think we can come up with a reasonable, no-brainer, flat tax for corporations and individuals that make it more conducive for businesses to keep their corporations here, and people working here can better afford the taxes that they are paying. Because once we start downsizing government, if we don't have jobs coming in, that means just more unemployment, and we don't want to do too many things to disrupt the stability of being able to meet what we've got now. But we waste more money than we really need to. So I can see that if the states pick up those folks that of the departments we delete, that there's places for people to go for jobs, and it would be in their states as well. So, taxation would then be reduced as we work forward. And this is not an avoid. This is working together collaboratively with all of the senators and congressmen and as well governors to see where we're at, because we're really in a mess.
Describe your stance on the abortion pro-choice issue.
Well, as a Christian, I don't believe abortion is the right thing. But I do know that there are circumstances when people are raped or it's a life-threatening thing, that it should be allowed. But I really don't agree with abortion, and that doesn't mean that I feel bad for people that would even have to consider abortion, because they obviously didn't learn all of their lessons from sex education classes they learned when they were kids. I don't agree with the federal government paying for any abortions, except for the rare circumstances where it's a life-threatening thing for the mother. And then I think that they should have a choice to, whether they want to try to go full term, and the others, if they want to pay for it, that's between them, God, and the doctor that handles the job. It really is.
What role should our military play in the world?
Well, we have allies, and we should be talking. We haven't done a lot of talking with our allies, or finding out what their expectations of us, what our expectations of them. We've always supported our allies, and our allies have always supported us. But I think some of the things we've got ourselves into, Iraq and Afghanistan, for example, we went in there with a mission, but we surely didn't go in with a plan to do what we needed to do. And it just escalated and ran on too long, and it's been a burden on the American taxpayers as well as our allies, and cost of lives and injuries. We need to be smarter in that. And our military, if we're going to commit our military, there needs to be a decisive plan on how we're going to go in. And really, when you deal with radicals, you either go in and take care of the problem, or you stay the hell out, because you're not going to win the way we've been fighting. And just about every military soldier knows that. Every pilot knows that. That are involved in the issue. So it's tough. It takes a lot out of the people, and it mentally hurts them. So if we're going to commit or use our soldiers, it's because everybody's agreed this is what we need to do. We go in, we take care of it, and we get out. And that's why I said an elite force, but we can go in and strategically take care of the problem and reduce any possible damage to those that are innocent, and take care of the issue and get out. not to homestead and lose our soldiers over the wars that we've been doing. And then when we pull out, as you can see, ISIS forms and somebody else forms. So I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that when we move in, we take care of the issue. They take care of how they're going to handle it. I don't agree in training the soldiers to fight because they fight without us. I don't think they need our training. We can support them, but I don't think we need to train them and do what we're doing now because it's a great expense, and as you can see, we're not getting anything out of that money. 60% of those that were in Iraq were a part of the problem, and we paid them, and they don't fight. And we're doing the same thing in Afghanistan. A lot of our soldiers that are training them are injured and or killed because of the folks they're working with. So we have to be careful. And I have a man that is understanding of that, and I would probably push to have him shifted to the Secretary of Defense real quick because he's aware of it, he understands training, and he understands the situations in the Middle East, and he is educated. So he would take care of our troops.
How would you handle immigration and border security?
I touched on that a little bit. First, the border needs to be secured, not so much as we have, ongoing illegal aliens coming in and out of the United States, and then obviously the drugs. But there's also terrorists now coming through Mexico that can come through the border, the same as any illegal alien. So securing it, as I said, we can secure the border, but we don't need to build a fence because there's technology out there that can track folks above ground and below ground through heat signature, and you have reactionary force ready to move on the directions that they're coming in on. So it would be far lower cost. The gentleman that I was talking about is also familiar with that system and recommends it. Do I think that the military could do that? I think the military, those soldiers that are coming out of the military, disabled veterans that are still capable of functioning, could secure the border, supporting the Border Patrol in each state. And then we just give them a little help so that they can do that.
How do you perceive the issues of race and discrimination in America? Do we still face challenges?
Well, it's evident that we're having some challenges, and I was extremely surprised that the race activities now kicking up, and only one part of that is being covered. Not what led to that, not the full truth, but we seem to, like race baiting or creating conflict and stirring the pot. I think everybody steps back, remembers that I served with African Americans, I served with Koreans, and every nationality that fought for America, with America, and we all know, if you get shot, you all bleed red. Doesn't matter the color of your skin or the shape of you. Doesn't matter. You die, or you're wounded, or you lose your body parts. Whatever it is, everybody knows we have to work together. In America, it doesn't seem like we're working together. And the race issues is because you get a few folks that are saying, I want, you owe me, it's got to end. And, yeah, we've got a long way to go, but I think you'll find any working class of any race realizes we have challenges, but we have to work together to work our way out of it. Starts with family, community, and then the church, the state, and if the federal government has to get in, then it's broke. And Charleston was a good example. This trial should have been over. The man should have been taken care of. That created that horrible incident. But the Justice Department gave him $29 million to the family members because it was a hate crime. Well, what about the ones in Virginia? You haven't heard a whole heck of a lot about that. So is there a problem? Yeah, but I don't think it's people. I think it's the political game that's played with this and the newscast that doesn't seem to report the truth or the full truth of what's going on. It just stirs stuff. So I'm more into the let's get along and let's work together and let's come up with solutions together and stop blaming stuff that happened centuries ago. It's too late. It's gone. Let's move forward and let's move to the future.
What role should the federal government play in health care?
Well, when I heard about Obamacare, and as crazy as it sounds, if you can't afford, let's say, if you're a low-income family and you can't afford insurance, how the heck do you afford the use of the insurance and have to pay 30% copay? Or this is what you've got to pay before you get your health care. And the federal government keeps going into this. Well, pharmaceutical and medical has a responsibility as well. And you're making trillions of dollars, and yet you've got people that can't afford the health care. We can come up with a solution, and we can work together on that solution, but it takes everybody working together. The only ones that I can see that benefited from the government health care program is the insurance company, not the people.
What priority would you give repair of infrastructure? What role should the federal government have in maintaining infrastructure?
From what I understand, we have taxes on gasoline, and now I haven't seen it. It used to be that, the breakdown of cost for fuel was also the taxes, whether they be local, state, federal. That which the federal government draws on infrastructure should be spent on infrastructure, repairing bridges, roads, and there is materials to build these bridges to last, far longer than they're lasting now. We've got bridges that should have been replaced 35, 40 years ago that are still being utilized. So, yes, we need to take a look at it, not to go into debt, but we've got money that's set aside for that. And we need to look at those people that are contracting to do that or bidding for that they're giving us what we want. So I know somewhere there they have engineers that work on roads and bridges, Corps of Engineers, but there's also some civilian groups that have the knowledge and the technology, and we can work with them and the producers of the products that we need, which would spur new jobs just through the materials. That would create jobs for Americans as well, so we would get our roads and bridges. Now, I know the Northeast is probably in the greatest need for roads and bridges right now, and then as you come across, then you would hit the North or the Midwest, central parts, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, and those areas. They also need some of their bridges redone and put into a fashion that they're durable and can handle weather and can be lasting for a very long time. And those that contract to do that will contract, and if it doesn't meet the standards that we expected, I expect them to go back out there and fix it, not the government pay for them to go back out and redo the the work that they should have done right the first time.
Okay. Where do you stand on personal privacy and the need to protect our nation from terrorism? There seems to kind of be this conflict between maintaining freedom, privacy, rights, but also being able to find the terrorists. Is there a balance? Is this even an issue? How would you handle it?
Well, if it's not a political, and that's the difference. If it's a political conversation of all of these, I'm gathering information. When we have 17,000 Afghans being brought in, and probably 6 to 10% of those are Taliban. That's bad guys. And then you bring in Syrians that we don't quite know how many we're getting because, well, the government hasn't told us. States are getting them. Chances are we're getting everything from Al-Qaeda to, again, the ISIS and those that want to hurt Americans. To be able to track conversations and track them moving, okay, I'm going to put a tracker on you. I'm not quite sure that's a fix. I think, yes, they do need to monitor and they need to hear because this stopped a lot of activities, and it does work. But as far as privacy for the American citizen, I've always asked the question, anybody can listen to my conversation, I don't mind, because what are they going to hear is an opinion that I may have, and if they don't like it, I'm sure that I would be added to some crazy list. But as long as I am not doing anything wrong, I don't fear the government's coming down here to find out what is Tom doing today. Who's he talking to or tracking it? But I really don't believe that the intelligence community is using their surveillance for that activity. Nor do I even think it's used for, busting drug dealers, to tell you the truth. I think they're seriously looking for terrorists. And in office, that's exactly what their job is. It's not to peep on somebody's bad conversation on the cell phone or bad emailing on their sex dating of their girlfriends and conversations that they're having. That's not what their job is. Their job is to find out what are the terrorists doing, is there any terrorist activities, and where. And that's all they should be doing. And I don't see of any other way we can find them or catch them, because if you stop doing that, I'm quite sure they're going to be able to work fairly free and organize fairly quick. And we could have some real problems. We're going to end up doing it anyway. So let's find a way to do it and do it smart, but let's do it to protect the nation, not to invade privacy, because I don't believe that's what we were supposed to do or is designed to do.
What role does faith, religion, spirituality, etc. play in your life? And what type of role would it play for you as president? I'm just asked this because it's important to a lot of voters. It's not really a litmus test question. It's more just so people know where you're coming from on this issue. Well,
I guess once I went into the service and was a soldier, one of the things I believed in was God. And I came home. I served my 13 years, got a few scrapes and a few scratches, but I didn't die and I didn't get injured. I believe there was a reason for that. I tried to be a good Catholic, but when they had the issues with the priest playing with little boys and stuff like that, I guess I lost faith in the church, not in God. So, yes, I do pray. Yes, I do believe in God. Yes, I do believe in Jesus. And I try to live my life by that. I don't like to take advantage of anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want everybody to be doing their part as Americans making America as it should be. And that's where I stand on the issue of God. If I'm president, it doesn't change my belief, but I'm not going to go into office saber-rattling of a religion issue, but at the same time, a special interest group, as we've got coming out now, there will be no transgender operations paid for by the federal government or federal money. Never. That's a choice they make, and again, that's between them and their maker, but the federal government or the American taxpayers are not going to be paying for stuff like this. The religious freedom, I'm a bit concerned on the Justice Department writing and rewriting a constitutional right for freedom of religion. Well, you have the freedom to believe in the religion, and you have the right not to believe in it. Unfortunately, we've got more that don't believe in it or don't believe in God. And I'm thinking the United States is learning it. That's not such a good time. I guess I believe in it. But I'm not going to force people to think my way. They will not push as they've been. And the Justice Department will move back on track because we're going to have a heart-to-heart, because I do believe we owe one lady money for taking their family business away from them because of religious beliefs. I'm sure there was other catering companies that would have been more than happy to take on that business. She shouldn't have been punished. Unfortunately, the lady that stood up about the gay marriage licenses, well, she has to give out gay marriage licenses because it's the law. Well, until we change that law, she's kind of in trouble. Sad to say, but it's the way it is. Will I change that? Yes, I'm going to hope to believe that people believe more in God and in each other as opposed to special interests to special groups. We're all Americans doing the same thing, and hopefully we all believe in God the same way. If we don't, then hopefully you have the ability to have enough brain power to realize nobody hates anybody for what they are or who they are. It's how they behave and how they react amongst the community. And if they choose to rebel and be outrageous, then maybe they're wrong. And if they choose to be, I'm not saying conforming because that's not true. Be who you want to be, but do not infringe on others, because the United States was built on religious freedom.
Be a political forecaster. Predict maybe one or two major problems facing our country in the future that very few people are talking about. What would you do to prepare America for it?
Well, we already know, and they are slowly talking, but I haven't heard any presidential candidates talking about it other than rhetoric. We've already got they're not homegrown. We brought them here, terrorists, and they will, at some point, respond. At the same time, I also know that people aren't familiar with what is weapons of mass destruction. Well, if I'm sitting in Milwaukee or Cape Coral or whatever city I'm sitting in, and 2 suitcase bombs can take out those cities in a horrible death, I consider that weapons of mass destruction. And they found those in Iran, back 2008. I know that to be a fact. So did they destroy them all? I doubt it, because there was just so many ammunition dumps there that I don't think we were there long enough to clean it up. That getting here to the United States, which appears to be fairly easy, because immigration and checkpoints are definitely not in the scheme of things. So, yeah, that's coming. Will it be this year? I hope not, but I would look at next year, September. Yeah, it could be. And it could be pretty horrible, and I think the American people are going to find out the hard way what it means to be attacked by terrorists or living in a terrorist country like they are. I don't know why these young people from foreign countries aren't fighting for their own country, why we're bringing them here to disrupt our country. I really don't understand it. I can understand if they're here because they want to be here, but I want to be here because they're fighting wars in my country is not the answer. But we seem to do that.
Okay.
So we're into some real ugly times here soon.
Everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses. Things they're good at, things they're not good at. What are some of the things you may not be so good at, and what would you do to make up for these weaknesses?
Well, I think because I put a lot of stuff on my plate and I like to get a lot of things done at one time, I sometimes let the ball drop on this one, let the ball drop on that one. And I know that, but it's only in the effort of doing the job and trying to do it well that we overload ourselves. And then we get forgetful and we don't do as well as we should do. I don't know, for example, the legal side of government in their interpretations of laws because they like to write them in legalese instead of writing them in English so that all Americans can read them and understand them. And they're not shared. So that would be a weakness for me, and the way I would fix that is that I would put people that are on my staff and not near the size staff that's in the office today, but I would put in qualified, serious staff that do their job well, that can report and give me the reports as I want. And then I would give report cards quarterly as to correct that weak spot. And sometimes I might not hear it, so as I'm putting out these reports, I would hope somebody lets me know what's broke, and then we'll fix it. That's kind of my weakness is I just get too much on the plate, and I've got to make sure that I've got people around me to keep us focused and working in the right direction.
Are there any other issues you want to discuss?
Well, I probably could discuss several thousand of the things that I would like to do, but at this time it would probably be a bad idea to start discussing them because as I've given it a lot of thought, and we have to look at everything and then slowly and correctly fix it. And either fix it or get rid of it because it's not benefiting all Americans. And I think that's probably the most important thing. And then anything else that comes up as folks have questions, I'm always available for a response and answering it. I'd give them a thought because I know that they're concerned about the environment. They're concerned about a lot of things. But right now, China's polluting enough air coming into America. We don't have to really worry about pollution because we're getting theirs. So it's kind of like, what do we do? We can fix it, but we pushed all of our jobs over there, so obviously the air is going to be more polluting coming across back to us the hard way through the air pollution and water pollution. So,
okay, time for some closing remarks. In 2 minutes or less, tell us why we should vote for you.
Well, the reason why I think people should vote for me and would hope that they would vote for me is I care about America and I care about people. I think that jobs are important. I think that truthful government is important, and we've been promised that for I don't know how long, and I've never seen it. I would probably be one of the first presidents that would be real happy to let you know which senators and which congressmen are trying to fleece the government taxpayers under silly bills attached to serious bills to get them passed. And that won't happen. So transparency, honesty, and open and caring is me. I don't have political rich friends. I have friends that are rich, but not politically correct. And the normal rich folks that I know are pretty balanced. So I think I'm an honest person. I think I'm going to make honest change. I think I'm going to get jobs back to America. And I think I'm going to secure the border for a heck of a lot less than the other ones talk about. And I don't have any campaign contributions to me. I'm doing it all on my own. And I'm considered retired, so I don't have big money. So I have to plan for all the trips and the travel and all of the other things. But I do it. And I'll be there for them if they want to talk. So I think I'll be okay for them. All they need to do is a few things for me, and that's petition the interstates and vote. That's that easy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Menier, again, for participating in this interview. Thank you to my listeners for listening to the interview. Be sure to check back again in the future for more candidate interviews. Have a good day. Remember to keep informed, passionate, and most of all involved. Thank you, Mr. Menier.